All right. Well, good morning, everyone. It is Tuesday, I believe, July 7th, 2020. Happy belated 4th of July. Hope everyone had a healthy, happy, fun. We had a blast at my household, 4th of July. Uh, and welcome to back to our energy meetings. And so this morning we have Aurora Energy Solutions. I can now say formerly Superior Pellet Fuels, but now Aurora Energy Solutions, which has taken over the operations in partnership for Superior Pellet Fuels. And we have as our guest the general manager of Aurora Energy Solutions, former general manager of Superior Pellet Fuels, Mr. Chad Schumacher. And I believe, Chad, I wouldn't be off base to say that you are the driving reason why we have a pellet and compressed log facility here in the interior.
I can go ahead and agree with that statement. There's a lot else that has gone into the Aurora Energy Solutions component, but that's a big part of this presentation, and we'll just kick off from there.
All right, well, sir, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for being here.
Well, and Jomo, thank you for the opportunity. We're awfully excited about where things are headed with Aurora Energy Solutions. Just so everyone's fully aware, earlier in the month of June, Superior Pellet Fuels was acquired. The assets were purchased by Usabelli Investments, and a new entity, Aurora Energy Solutions, was formed. The original assets for Superior Pellets that are contributing the manufacturing processes for wood pellets and compressed logs are now being combined with the new investments towards kiln-dried firewood, which includes a firewood processing system as well as a state-of-the-art kiln for that wood drying process. That system is, I guess we can call it under construction as of today. We've received our firewood processing equipment in town earlier last week and are making some final preparations on the construction plans at this point. So one thing, just to kind of preface the presentation that we're going to kick off, I know, Jomo, you and I had talked about showing that kiln-dried video. So if you would, why don't we go ahead and kick that off here? It didn't come through, the resolution didn't come through nearly as well through the presentation over Zoom, probably due to my internet speed out here, but why don't you go ahead and show that, and we can give everyone a good visual understanding for the advantages for dry firewood, kiln-dried firewood specifically.
Okay, try to pull it up now, Chad.
All right, I'll go ahead and stop share here.
Okay, I think I've already got that. Let me see if I can. Okay. Can everybody see the video? Actually, can you see the video? I think I have everyone else muted.
Yeah, I can right here.
Okay, all right, here we go. Wow, okay.
So, what you can see there is a pretty distinct visual representation of the advantages for dry firewood. And one of those big advantages, the fact that you're able to get let me get back onto the share screen here.
Sure, so let me pass this back over to you, boss.
You're right, stop share.
So one of the big advantages there that you're able to see is how quickly that stove can get to a high operating temperature. And the big advantage when that happens is that the quicker you can get up to that higher operating temperature, the lower the emissions are during that startup component. And that's really the driving force as to, why this whole project is moving forward as rapidly as it is. So without further ado, let me start running through the presentation. We can talk a little bit more about what we've put into these decisions and how things have come along as they have.
Actually, Chad, before we do that, just one quick question for confirmation. On that video, the stove that was on the right, the one that was just blazing, that was the kiln dried logs, with the one on the left being the seasoned logs. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right. So the big advantage there, as quickly as you come up to temperature, that is drastically reducing the startup emissions component. Basically, addressing that emissions peak or the emissions curve that you deal with on really any wood stove, whether it be catalytic or non-catalytic. It's a huge advantage to get through that startup process as quickly as possible to eliminate those emissions.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, I am surprised. It was incredibly pronounced, the difference. And again, even for properly seasoned wood.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So as we're running through this presentation, if anyone has any questions, feel free to chime in, interrupt me. We're here because we want to talk about these challenges and what we're bringing forward to the community from a private perspective here. So,
and if you give me just one more second, then
Yep.
In that case, again, everyone, I'm going ahead and muting everyone for now just to keep the noise down. But again, do feel free to unmute yourself if you do have a question to ask. All right, thanks, Chad. Please proceed.
So one of the big driving forces for the Firewood Kiln investment that Aurora Energy Solutions is making is the serious designation for non-attainment within our community. Everybody understands that wet firewood, the poor quality of available solid fuels in our community is a huge driving force to why we have such high PM 2.5 issues. Another component that really fit in very well with our operation was the fact that the point sources were really being targeted as a way for the EPA to address some of these high levels of emissions in our community, and that's really where Aurora Energy initially got involved directly in this whole discussion. Probably 2.5 years ago, Aurora Energy and Superior Pellet Fuels started talking about the ways that we would be able to work together as a community and try to address some of these challenges. And ultimately, Aurora Energy Solutions is the result of those initial discussions. As I was saying, one of the major solutions that we've decided to offer from a community perspective here is a firewood kiln. The investment, the installation of a wood drying kiln really presents a tremendous control factor in the quality of available solid fuels in our community. Now, being able to Superior Pellet Fuels was always able to address a quality, a moisture controlled factor with their wood pellets and compressed logs. But those densified products are not the primary fuel supplies for the majority of the solid fuel systems located in our community. The compressed logs were always a supplement, but when you're looking at greater than 85% of all of the solid fuel burning devices in our community are primarily fueled by traditional firewood, that's a huge percentage of the market that we really felt needed to be addressed, and we needed to figure out a way to offer some level of quality control to that fuel supply. That's exactly where the wood kiln comes into place. Another huge advantage is the fact that tying into Aurora Energy's steam distribution system means there are zero additional new emissions for this process. They, the intended use of this kiln is to become the primary steam customer for Aurora Energy during those non-heating months. A great way for us to utilize what was previously a waste product or a heat component that was just really going out into the stack. So we're awfully excited about the way that we're able to utilize or underutilize steam supply to now being able to use it primarily during those non-heating months for the kiln system. Superior Pellet Fuels also offered the 10 years of experience in raw material procurement, manufacturing processes in the community, and really the understanding for the timber industry, and that's where this relationship has really grown. I was just mentioning that 10 years of experience with Superior Pellet Fuels. Nice picture on the bottom right picture here. So the acquisition of the facility and the assets finalized June 5th. Since then, we've been working very hard to have the manufacturing processes move forward, while also trying to develop all of the construction plans and the design and implementation of the firewood processing system, as well as the firewood drying kiln system. As you can see here, Superior Pellet Fuels manufactures wood pellets and compressed logs. The facility is designed to be able to produce up to 30,000 tons of wood pellets on an annual basis, and up to 3,000 tons of compressed logs on an annual basis. Now, the availability of both of those products, currently our market demands are nowhere near that. We're probably seeing a market demand of about 10 to 15% of our annual production capacity at the facility on wood pellets, and a little bit higher than that, but still probably close to 30% of the capacity for the compressed logs. So we definitely have a lot of growth potential with both of those products. The big advantage for the wood pellets, wood pellets are considered the cleanest burning solid fuel available in the United States. The opportunities for that fuel to grow in the market share is really a great opportunity, matching up very well with the air quality concerns that we have in our community.
For a sense of scale, Chad, is there any understanding of kind of what the actual, the amount of wood burned on a tonnage basis?
Well, for a sense of scale, the numbers are all over the place. One of the numbers, probably the largest number on the firewood side of things that we ever heard tossed around during the stakeholders group was around 50,000 cords of firewood are consumed in our community on an annual basis. That number, in my opinion, might be high, but it's definitely up there. Now, for comparison, the total consumption of wood pellets for the entire state of Alaska, including our pellets and pellets brought in from the lower 48 by box stores, run about 10,000 tons of pellets. The firewood market is considerably larger than the pellet market. Now, one of the biggest advantages for densified products that Aurora Energy Solutions is now manufacturing, the high quality, locally manufactured products come from raw material supplies locally sourced. 100% of our raw materials are sourced from within a 100-mile radius of the pellet facility, and 100% of our manufactured products are consumed within the state of Alaska.
Cool. Thank you.
As I was mentioning, the big step that Aurora Energy Solutions is taking, in addition to the acquisition of superior pellet fuels, is the installation of a firewood drying kiln. So this will be the first ever firewood drying kiln in the state of Alaska. We anticipate breaking ground on the construction here within the next 2 weeks. From there, we're going to do a foundation installation, and then immediately after that, the equipment's going to be showing up. We hope to have this system fully stood up and ready for test runs right about the 1st of September. At this point, construction schedules are very challenging with everything going on in this world today, but the schedule still seems like it is achievable for that schedule. So here's basically a really good slide going to work. Steam from the Aurora Energy Power Plant distribution system is going to travel over to the firewood drying kiln. Most people look at the kiln or hear the word kiln and think that it is, a big piece of equipment inside of a building that's, that's providing just a tremendous amount of heat. Well, that's partially true. But the biggest difference is the fact that the kiln is actually the building. So this aluminum building that we have in this second picture is a really good description of what we will be seeing for our operation. The biggest difference, ours will have just one single door rather than the 2 doors in this picture. And then the third picture there, those are 100 cubic foot baskets. Our baskets will actually be 200 cubic foot and will hold what's called a thrown cord, 128 cubic feet of raw material. A thrown cord is virtually the exact same volume of material. It's just not neatly stacked. So instead of taking up 128 cubic feet, it's now taking up 200 cubic feet. And we will be stacking 48 baskets with 200 cubic feet, one thrown cord volume in every single load that we cycle through this kiln system. The coils and fans that you see in the last picture there are really what will transfer the hot air coming through the steam system. Now that loop will basically constantly rotate and turn the air supply coming through that system so that we're routinely controlling the amount of air being put into the product so that it's drying that material down to a moisture content that we're targeting. So you note here down in the bottom left, 20% or less moisture content. We're awfully excited about providing that guarantee to our customer base. But one of the biggest challenges that we're going to face as a business is maintaining that low moisture content after it comes out of our kiln. And that means providing or requiring some significant protective measures for anyone that's buying our product and then redistributing it to some of these customers that are really the final users of the product. We're going to have to require all of our distributors to provide covered distribution. We're going to have to require that there be some measure of control once it gets to the customer's house, to guarantee that once that customer receives the product, they are not running into issues of it just sitting out in their lawn for the next 2 weeks and collecting moisture back into the product without it being protected. So, we're going to have to take some significant measures to address that and make sure that the moisture content and the quality of the fuel maintain its quality standards even after it leaves our chain of command. So, some of the benefits there with kiln dried firewood, obviously it's going to be free. It's being processed. It's still green with its natural moisture content in. And then we're going to have to make sure to have a lot of quality control on that product after it leaves our kiln system. We hope to target a moisture content lower than 20%. Ideally, we would be rolling out a product that's closer to 15%. The opportunities there for reduced emissions levels are really very significant. Once, the lower the moisture we can get to, the better scenario we're going to run into. But there is also going to be a factor of production volume and efficiencies to be measured, as well as just moisture content into that system.
Hey, Chad.
Yes.
This might be a good moment. Oh, good, because here we are back to the video. There was a question when we first watched the video regarding moisture content between the two sample sets on the video. Really, the question was, how is seasoned, or was seasoned defined? Oh, it looks like you're actually giving a little more of that information right now.
Exactly. I figured this is where you were going with it. Lisa put together this incredible still in case if the video didn't work, and it is a great explanation of the scenarios that were being used in this side-by-side burn test. So the kiln dried wood of 20% moisture content got up to temperature in that stove very, very quickly. As you were seeing in the video, it happened within 10 minutes of the ignition process. The 35% moisture content, quote unquote seasoned firewood, no one targets 35% for their drying processes, but unfortunately, far too often it is a real life occurrence that is the result of the 6-month drying process that we see in our community. Last year, for example, when we had such a wet late July and all of August and most of September, when we run into late season high moisture periods like that, those are critical months in the drying process and in the preparation process of seasoning your firewood. So when we run into seasons like that, people end up with a moisture content significantly higher than the targeted 20% that we shoot for. And you can see the challenges that it ran into with getting to temperature in the stove at 392 degrees after 30 minutes. It still had probably another 30 minutes to go in that ignition process before that stove could get anywhere near the EPA regulated emission standards of that device. Did that explain it well enough, Jomo, or any other questions on it?
It did for me. I was just checking the chat box. Okay, yeah, I think we're good on that first question. There's a further question regarding secondary emissions, but we'll get to that. I think we'll go for that at the end. Do we have any
Okay.
other questions at this juncture, anybody? Again, just unmute yourself if you do. Okay, looks like we're good for now, boss.
All right. So here is a quick design layout for the plan that we have with our new property where the kiln system and raw material processing will occur. Now, sitting over in this area, the Phillips Field Road and Pioneer Road is the existing building, the old Quality Meats building that you can see in the top right corner there. That's probably the designated landmark that's going to let most people know exactly where this facility is going to be. Now, the kiln will be sitting right up there, and you see a label, kiln number 1 and kiln number 2. Only one kiln is coming to this community here today, but we want to leave it open for a second kiln in order to match the market demands and make sure we have the capabilities of providing all of the dry firewood this community could need in the future. You know, we're going to take this step by step and invest in and install this first kiln here this summer, and then see how that market pans out from that point forward. Where you see the label green wood baskets sitting just to the north of that Quality Meats building, that is actually where our firewood processor will sit. We're going to use that existing Quality Meats building to help control some of the noise involved in that firewood processing system. And then we're also going to encase that processor saw with a room essentially sitting over the top of it to help mitigate some of that noise. Because even though this is a heavy industrial area, we are concerned and understand that there is residential fairly close to our property, and we're trying to address that and mitigate any of the challenges or concerns that those residential individuals might have. So we note here residential and commercial sales will be made available through this process. We've been rethinking exactly where we're going to have that customer flow, and more than likely we are going to have residential and commercial sales rolling out of a new warehouse as that primary residential sales location that will offer up the opportunity for people to come in and pick up set volumes of wood, as well as potentially some bundled or packaged products, as well as the opportunity for them to come in and just load up a wood supply into their car that they feel that they can fit into their own vehicle and go from there. That way they can pick out the pieces of wood that they really like. We can weigh them in, weigh them out, and meter that volume from that perspective. So we're still in the process of dialing in exactly how it'll work, and we want to make it where it's easiest for those customers to deal with it. The commercial sales, the existing firewood distribution markets, will probably still go directly to the firewood processing and kiln site, and then we'll load them up with metered volumes directly out of the baskets that way. Here's our leadership team affiliated with Aurora Energy Solutions. Myself, I have no idea where Lisa found that beautiful picture, but I'm half embarrassed of the apparel and you know, you got to admit a little proud of, you know, being the first catch of the day that way. So, and then Nikki Garcia, our office manager, has a long-standing relationship with the Usabelli family. We're extremely excited to have Nikki back as a major part of this leadership team. And Rob Brown, the president of Aurora Energy Solutions, who is also the president of Aurora Energy and vice president for Usabelli as well. And every person here, including the entire Usabelli family, Lisa is on the phone right now. Everyone involved in every, I guess, business relationship we have now with this new position with, well, with, you know, Usabelli Investments is really diving in and helping us, you know, keep this project moving forward. It's awfully exciting to see a local Alaska business, you know, really take in Superior Pellet Fuels and immediately invest in everything that we've done here at the facility, grow this place. We now have, you know, in June, we started mill operations with myself and 4 other employees as part of Superior Pellet Fuels. Today, we have an entire operating team out here at the pellet facility of 14 people. So in 1 month's time, we've added 9 positions and 6 full-time year-round jobs. So we are awfully excited about everything that is to come with this new relationship, the diversification, to be able to utilize all of that labor on a year-round basis, manufacturing, you know, all of our products and having a product come out of our manufacturing processes every single week of the year is a huge step in the right direction for where Superior Pellet Fuels was headed. Here is all of the contact information for Superior Pellet Fuels. Please go check out our new website at heatyourway.com. It is a great resource for what we are doing here at the pellet facility, for what we're planning to do at the new kiln location, and reach out to any one of us with any questions, concerns, or you know, just feedback. So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity to share this information with everybody, and let me know if there are any questions.
All right. Well, thank you very much for an excellent presentation. We do have one question in the queue, and so I'll go ahead and ask that, but then we'll open it up to our group. So really this question regards, you made a statement that no new emissions relative to the current Aurora plant because of this kiln drying operation. However, there was a story on KUAC that implied that you all would need to, or Aurora would need to boost its capacity to meet this additional load. Do you want to speak to that? It just seems to be an inconsistency.
Yes, I'm happy to address that because, you know, and can you hear me okay? My internet connection seems to be breaking up a little bit. Are you hearing me okay, Jomo?
Yes, sir. How you doing, boss? Oh, I see. Lisa's chiming in.
Jomo, maybe decline his stop sharing, and that'll speed up his bandwidth.
Oh, okay, sure. Okay. Chad? Well, looks like he actually dropped off.
Okay, hold on one second. Let me see if I can get him back.
Okay.
It's better.
Oh, I see you, Chad.
Am I back on now?
Yes, sir.
Jomo, can you hear me now?
Yes, can you hear us? Hello?
He turned on.
Yeah, I sure can. Sorry about that. I don't know. All of a sudden, I just lost internet here at the Pellet.
Okay, well, we do hear you, sir. Oh, we might be getting a little GCI'd this morning.
Hey, Jomo, I can kind of take that question while Chad's trying to chime back in. The percentage of coal burned, it was kind of misleading in that article. Actually, it was very misleading. The power plant does not need to burn hardly any additional coal. It'll be less than 1% of a coal increase at the Aurora Energy power plant. So very negligible when it comes to emissions. So we'll still be able to, we'll share all of that information as well once we kind of get the plant up and running. But in our estimations, it'd be less than 1% of a fuel increase.
Okay.
Hey, this is Lisa, and I'm the one who asked that question. And so then I would just, I mean, it is an increase. It may be small, maybe 2,100. Listed it as 2,100 tons per year, which is at about 1%, and it may be less than that. But that still is. It's just maybe it's a semantics thing. But when stressing a couple of times in a presentation, there'll be no new emissions. It may be more appropriate to say that there'll be negligible new emissions because it's not yet known, but there will be some new emissions. Thank you.
Thanks for that comment, Lisa. I guess the no new emissions is coming from the Aurora Energy Solutions, the coal facility, the kiln facility itself. But I agree, we can definitely make some modifications in the presentation. Thanks for that feedback.
All right, now we hear you again, Chad.
All right, you can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Well, I know Lisa tried to address that that question already. So, and I apologize for whatever reason. I just got off the internet and went directly to the phone to make sure that people could hear me.
All right. Well, we actually have, let's see, we have a couple of representatives online. I'm more than happy to open it up. Anything from you, Rep Prox?
Well, I'm just really impressed, I guess, that Aurora Energy is making this investment. That's just great. And Chad, I thank you for the work that you've done with Superior Pellets and all that. That's really been a help. I'm kind of in the marketing business this summer, so give me a call and let me know what I can do to promote this out in the North Pole area.
Sounds great, Mike. Absolutely.
Well, I will tell you, I'm very impressed with the speed with which you guys are being able to move forward on this initiative. It's actually been discussed for several years, but as far as decision made, moving forward with groundbreaking and into operations, it's quite rapid.
I couldn't agree with you more, Jomo. Our initial schedule that we rolled out for this was really targeting starting the kiln system April of 2021, but that was mostly driven by the availability of the manufacturers of all of the equipment that we would need for this system. So this is one positive result of the COVID-19 epidemic. It has really opened up some of the manufacturing to expedite the processes, because very few businesses across the country are making financial investments into the community and into the manufacturing world like Usabelli Investments is right now. So really it kind of, it's incredible that we're able to move at this pace, and the only reason that we're able to do it is because that equipment manufacturing process, a lot of the existing orders on that equipment have been postponed.
Now, it may be, are there further questions? Again, if there's anyone who has a question, please feel free to raise your hand and you'll be acknowledged, or just go ahead and unmute yourself.
This is Lisa again. Sorry. I do have one more, and perhaps I missed it in the presentation, or you're not yet at a stage where you can speak to this. And I will preface it, when I typed my question regarding the emissions, I also did applaud that. I mean, when I was part of the air quality stakeholders group with Chad and others, and when this first came up, it was a great idea to use waste heat. And but speaking, I was just wondering what you envision the cost of this firewood may end up being, and how those, there are certainly a group of folks, and particularly those of no ash, that may be burning wood because of economics, and occasionally burning, or maybe often burning unseasoned wood or improperly dried wood. And how will this help those who are of lower economic status and unable to purchase wood at a higher cost? Thanks.
Absolutely great question. And, Lisa, we had a lot of fun together working on that stakeholders group, but there was a lot of challenges along with it. And, one of the big challenges that we face here with this system is we are a private industry investing in this. So the manufacturing processes, we have to be able to afford it because we're getting nothing else out of it. Yes, we're going to, it's phenomenal to have such a steady customer for the Aurora Energy side of things, but, we asked for support, not financial support, but an opportunity to utilize some of the emissions offsets for the power plant, and we're turned down at this point. DEC and the EPA have done nothing to really encourage along the investment of this kiln system with any sort of regulation. So if there's going to be ways to supplement the cost of the firewood for those qualifying for the no ash scenario, it can't come from us, unfortunately. We're not putting out, we're not giving away the fuel. It's going to come out at a market price very consistent with what today's non-kiln dried birch firewood sells for. And that number could fall into play north of 300 but south of 400 a cord. And if you look at what the existing market was selling, what they classified as dry birch firewood last winter, first, there was very little of it to be found anywhere, but second, it was selling for about $425 a cord, coming out of some of the existing actually legally certified or legally represented businesses that do that. Of course, there are plenty of them that are going to do it out of the back of their pickup truck that don't qualify or don't have any sort of standard set to meet the DEC's existing wood seller requirements. But we're absolutely going to be compliant with that product. I would love nothing more than to see a way for the community to step up and support guaranteeing the availability of that kiln dried wood for no ash participants in order to make it economically feasible for them to do it. The other alternative is, they would, if someone is dealing with a no ash, but they need to have their dry firewood, but they go out and harvest it themselves, they can bring their wood to us and just pay us a small fee to dry that product for them, so that the wood that they've put up in that first year can be used immediately in that first year. The cost of rotating your firewood on an annual basis is significant and something that cannot be afforded by a lot of the people that qualify for a no ash permit based upon the economics. Did that answer your question, or are there items I need to address further?
No, that's great. Thank you so much.
So you actually answered one of my questions. So really there is an exchange opportunity here for a wood user.
I don't like to use the word exchange.
Okay.
What I envision us doing is, we're going to have 48 of those one-cord crates going into our kiln, essentially every 48 hours. If you show up, Jomo, with a truckload of firewood that you processed and you want it dried so that you can use it in your certified wood stove this year, show up there, and what we're going to do is take your wood and we're going to put it immediately into your basket. We're going to tag your basket with your name, and when you are done, after that 48 hours drying cycle, we're going to pull that out and you are going to get your wood back. That way we're not dealing with people coming in and wanting to just exchange wood and it being, a blended species, spruce, birch, aspen, cottonwood, whatever they can find in their backyard, they come in and we're not going to give them a premium kiln dried birch in exchange for that. They're going to get their exact wood back.
Okay. Rep Prox?
I think something that's going to happen as a beneficial result of this is that it's going to make the firewood market more competitive, and you're going to be able to sell a known quantity and a known quality, and that will just naturally force other firewood providers to kind of step up to the plate. The folks that are just selling whatever out of their pickup are going to have to step up to the plate. And that's going to be a community benefit that I think will be, that we'll realize. And then the others, we might have to set up some sort of a community kind of help for those people that are not able to get their wood in time. We got to work those details out. But that's not really Aurora's responsibility. That's our responsibility.
I did get a question because we mentioned it about community contribution, and really the question was, are there any kind of property tax credits being applied to this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Or have there been any discussions about possible property tax relief? So actually, I guess the answer is no. This is moving forward at this point on a purely commercial basis.
Absolutely, yeah. There is zero support other than maybe a few verbal kudos to what Usability Investments is building here. So yeah, at this point we're doing it purely on seeing a community-based need for the quality control supply on dry firewood.
That's huge. I mean, that's really huge that private companies are stepping up.
Well, I will say this. I'm going to lob this out there, and this is just for the good of the order. It's not necessarily directed at you, Chad, or Aurora. I did mention when Senator Sullivan was here, because it has occurred to me throughout these conversations, really on a community-wide benefit basis, having a similar facility to this, say out in the North Pole area, utilizing some of the waste heat potentially from some of those facilities on a convenience basis would be helpful. I did broach that subject with Senator Sullivan as a potential future opportunity and sort of point that they could support.
I agree. I think it's a great thing for them to support. We do intend to have, with the facility located, the Superior Pellet Fuels plant located right smack between Fairbanks and North Pole, we do envision that will be a secondary distribution point for our kiln-dried firewood to help address that convenience concern with the North Pole community. The opportunities to utilize residual waste heat from any of the point sources, that's a great way to address this, because what we're doing here is really trying to optimize the energy usage in our community by cycling this steam into the kiln off of Aurora Energy. And if there's ways to do it at other point sources, that's a phenomenal use of that energy.
Excellent. All right. Well, we are getting to the last 8 minutes of the hour. Rep. LeBon, I'm going to offer you directly, sir. Have you any questions, sir?
Yeah, thank you, Jomo. I guess it's more maybe a comment than a question. Many years ago, I used to go out with my chainsaw and pick up and harvest wood and burn it into a wood stove at home. And boy, what an effort that is. And after a while, it just wears out equipment, trucks, and bodies. And I guess my observation on the benefit of this program is it may turn some folks that have had a lifestyle of gathering wood, and maybe it's not their primary heat, maybe it's a secondary heat, but how easy could it be to just stop by this facility and pick up some dry firewood and not have to go harvest and dry it out yourself? So this could grow the users of wood as far as a heat source, maybe a secondary heat source, but nonetheless, you may just find customers that you didn't realize were waiting for you to open up. And I guess that would be my comment.
Well, thank you for that. I definitely, in my previous life with Superior Pellet Fuels, we definitely built a facility off of the chicken or the egg scenario, and I hope I don't have to rely on that for the firewood side of things, but I definitely see what you're saying, and we absolutely hope we're able to address some of those market needs for customers that are ready to be done in the woods but have depended on solid fuel heating their entire life. We want to give them the opportunity to be able to step back and enjoy the comforts of solid fuel heating in their home while not having to bust their pick to make it happen.
Jomo, this is Lisa. We're, I guess, we'll be very excited to show the community what this kiln looks like once it's up and operational. So stay tuned for invitations to the Energy for All Alaska group. I know we'll be planning to do a ribbon cutting and kind of an open house between both the pellet and the compressed log facility, and then also the kiln facility. So we'll get you that information as soon as we're ready to go with that.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. If I may add one further request, I mean, I'm sure that you all are already doing it, and certainly I know that Aurora and Usability have the reach. But please remember FEDC and this energy group as a resource. If and as you think of ways that this could be better supported by some of those entities that you named, the EPA, DCCED, the borough or the cities, please do let us know so that we can begin to work. Oh, and of course we have our legislators here as well, so that we can help work those issues. Okay. All right, well, we're here in the last 4 minutes. Do we have any further questions or comments?
I had a question for Representative Levant. Did your chainsaw ever go offline when you were out in the woods cutting firewood, kind of like this presentation went offline for Chad?
Representative Prox, all kinds of things went offline in that effort, including getting a flat tire in the backwoods and having to change it on a rough surface. So yeah, I would be standing first in line for this benefit versus running around in the woods and dealing with the mosquitoes and chainsaw issues and wearing out my pickup truck. The comment was made about solid fuel heat, and we enjoyed that a lot. And we were just very aware of the effort and cost to get that solid wood, to burn that, to burn the wood. It was an effort. And this program looks like a great opportunity for those folks like I once was to avoid having to do that. So I'm happy to see this program put in place.
Hey Bart, this is Lisa. We'll tag the first cord of wood just for you, and I'll put a Red Sox label on it because I know how much you love the Red Sox too.
Lisa, I do love the Red Sox, and unfortunately now I cannot burn wood because I do not have the proper burning device. But thank you for that thought.
We'll get you a ceremonial piece of firewood then.
That would be great. Thank you.
Well, everybody, Mr. Schumacher, Ms. Herbert, thank you so much for the presentation. And thank you very much for your initiative and for moving forward on this. It's exciting. And we will look forward to that ribbon cutting and hopefully a little dedicated tour. Maybe we'll take a Tuesday morning field trip like we once did to the Superior Pellet plant. All right, well, so for the good of the order, if we have no further questions or comments, just a word. As it stands now, I don't have a presentation lined up. I don't have an assigned speaker for next week. So we may not have a presentation for next Tuesday. If that's the case, just happy Bastille Day to everyone. But follow on, we definitely have confirmed, I believe we have Ada on the 21st. And now we have scheduled AEA for the 28th. So again, as it stands now, no presentation for next Tuesday, but I will, of course, alert you if we do nail down a speaker. Otherwise, we'll have ADA on the 21st. We'll have AEA on the 28th. And I have been working to try to get a presentation from CCHRC. Speaking of new and exciting partnerships that support the community and a community enterprise, they do have one, and they're working really hard with that new partnership. So I hope to have them in at the earliest convenience. All right, if there's nothing else, again, thank you, Mr. Schumacher, thank you, Ms. Herbert, thanks everybody, and have a great week.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you.